the data from the YouTube channels or next already we have studied. So hyperlinks. So suppose how to add the hyperlinks, and that is something like this. So in this class, so that is I'm going to explain this. Suppose the frames or frame set. So here is, for example, when you see that our algorithm, suppose in this case, so here is something. Suppose Yogi Vemana. Suppose when you see our website, so when you see this website, and here is one marcus is going on. Suppose if you want to move the text, we can use the marcus tag is there. Later I will explain that marcus tag. I forgotten at the time of text. And here is, so suppose you see that the website, and here is a website. This is divided into number of parts. For example, so here is the CM dashboard. So that is a YBU report, report for NIRF, and this is a one part. And here is, this side is also we are dividing that screen into so two parts. That is a one part, two part, three parts. And the next in the top we can use another part of this one. So here is, when you see that here is three parts, we are dividing the screen into three parts. For example, here is we are keeping so Yogi Vemana logo, and here is we are using, so that is the NAC CGPA, so that is the NAC accreditation grade we are keeping like this. So if we want to divide, up to now we have seen only one screen. So in that cases, if you want to divide that screen into a number of parts, so for dividing the screen into number of parts, we can use a frame set, right? So in this class, I will explain how to divide the screen into a number of parts, either vertical lines and horizontal lines. Suppose screen has to divide it into so 4 vertical columns. So that means that is the vertical column may be divided into again 3 or 4. So that is so horizontal lines like that, right? For dividing the screen, because why you have to divide, that means heading part of the screen. For example, you see that whatever modifications you do in this case, so then it is the one part. Here is we can load the images separately, and here is the size of the font may be different, or different cases we can use the different things. So that's why here is, so in this class, for example, if you want to divide that screen into a number of subparts or number of columns and rows, so we can use a frame set, right? So forms are different and frame set is different. So I have understood that here is a frame set tag is used to so divide the screen into number of subparts, either number of columns and number of rows. So if you want to keep more than one web pages within the same web page, we can use the thing. That is, here is the frame set, FRAMESET frame set. Specify the layout of the subsections in the main browser window. So suppose in this case we can specify the subsections in the main browser window. So whenever I am using, already I have shown that. So this is the main web page, and here is, these are the images we are keeping. This is the one part, and here is in the top we are dividing that. That means entire screen is divided into, so that is the 3 parts. And within this vertical line, again we are dividing that into 2 horizontal lines. So if you want to divide like this, if you want to divide the things like this, you see that a notifications news, this is the one subpage, and this is the one subpart, and this is one subpart. So if you want to divide that, so then we can use the frame set of this. So within the frame set, so generally the syntax of that frame set is, here is we can write a frame set rows. So that is, the entire screen should be divided into how many rows, either row 1 or row 2, or suppose. So for this purpose, here is we can use the value comma value, define the rows within the frame set. Is it audible, Amma?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So this is the frame set, but when you are using the rows means, So that is the within the screen, we can divide that screen into two parts. So value 1 and value 2. Here is the, when you are using the values are nothing but a percentages. Values are nothing but a percentages. So suppose entire screen contains the 100%. So when you are taking that, suppose the top part we have to divide into 20% and 80%. So that means one subpart of the screen is 20% and another one is like this. Or if you want to divide that into three parts, three rows, we can use the value 1, comma value 2, comma value 3. But total value should be 100%, right? Or sometimes, so the same thing you see that, suppose here is, so the screen is there. So suppose here is taken 1, 2 and 3. So that means the screen is divided into three parts. In the first part, so OTP generation program is called, and the second part, so that is so my text details is called, and the next third one is, so that is the list I have called like this. That means if we want to divide the screen into so three parts, we can use rows columns like this. Or if you want to divide the screen, for example, you see that you assume that it is a screen, and here is how many parts are there. So that is the frame tag is the one part, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so that is the 10 rows are there. But the same thing, suppose by using that rows, here is we can write within the double quotes. So the 10, suppose the 10%, comma 10%, 10% up to 100%. So that is the 10. So this screen, you see that here is the two parts are there. It is, you assume that it is a, so vertical line is there. So here is the two frame set. Suppose if we want to divide that screen into two parts, so then we can use the cols. COLS, cols is equal to, so 2, one value, comma value. So they define the columns within the frame set. So this define columns within the frame set. So suppose if you don't want to use no from, that is, so suppose when you are dividing that screen into number of frames, but if your web browser does not support, the frames, so then this alternate information will be displayed like image, alt HSM kada alaga. Provides alternate content for browser that do not support frames. Suppose if your browser does not support this data frame set concept, so then it gives the warning message like this. For that purpose, here is we can use a no frames tag. That is, the no frames tag can be used for defining your browser is not supporting the frame set. Right? So within the frame set, for example, when you see that, so that is the frame set is there. So here is the 3. Here is I uploaded one website, and here is I uploaded another web page and another 3 web pages I uploaded into the same website. So for that purpose, if you want to upload, for example, so in the corner we can see that, suppose here is we are using that. So these are the images and corners we can use. So that is the logos. Suppose that logo should be uploaded. If you want to upload that, either we can keep that is the image, or so entire image can be created. So web page can be created. That web page can be pasted in that column. So that means here is, so for that purpose, and here is we are using that thing. So next one here is a frame. So frame means, so the screen is divided into 4 parts. So each part is called a frame. Each part is called a frame. So that is, in that frame we can upload one web page. That is the source, SRC. So source means that is the image, either image format or other HTML image, we can put the values. So that is the frame is equal to name. That means label the frame for targeting by other frames. Suppose each and every frame name will be given, so one target, so that is the unique name. So next to frame margin width. Frame margin width means, so for example, there are three frames are there. For example, here is, you see that there are 3 frames are there, but here is the margin of this one. So this is the margin. For example, if you want to get the gap between frame to frame, so that is the frame to frame. So then here is we can use the margin. So then here is we can use the margin width and the margin height, margin width and margin height. Or so that is the margin width means. So suppose if a number of frames are there, so suppose within the web page, so that is divided into 4 rows and 4 columns. So from column to column, if you want to give the gap as some gap, then we can use margin width. We can give the margin width. So if you want to give the gap between column to column, then we can use the margin height. Margin height. Or so suppose when you are dividing that screen into 10% and 90%, you assume that the screen is divided to 10% and 90%. If our image is not fit in the 10%, if our image is not fit in the 10%, then we can scroll the line. So that is the horizontal scrolling and vertical scrolling. So by default it takes the scroll, but a frame scrolling is equal to value. Create the frame scrolling. And suppose the frame no size. Another one is here is we are using frame no size. So the frame no size means, so suppose once the frame is created, that should not be, so that is the rechanged. So that is the without, so the scrollings and only fixed size can be given. So these are the attributes. By using this attribute, we can divide the frame, so that is the one web page into a number of, so that is the vertical web pages and number of horizontal pages. So these are the attributes we can use. So I think you understood that, right? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So why so late? Please Chokrana. 33 students are there. Okay, right. So that means here is, so first that is the frame set. Again that is the same thing. So that is the frame set. Define the set of frames. Frame set is a tag attributes, rows and columns. Define row size, number of rows. These are the percentage of pixels. Columns define the number of files. So suppose here is the no size. User cannot resize any frame in the frame set. A frame means it defines the frames within the frame set, and URL. So that is for locating HTML page. Margin width, margin height. So that is the no size, scrolling, a frame border. Suppose in the border, if you want to give the color, or suppose the border frame size, one is yes, no, two means no. So border, frame border means either. So in between that, either you have to keep the frame border or not. So if we are using that frame border, either you can use the border color or not, right? So for example, you see that. So here is, so you see that here is the screen is there, but later on I will show that program. So that is the first part is the white, and the second is I have taken the yellow, and the third one is this one. That means here is the screen, entire screen is divided into 3 parts, right? Now you see that how we are dividing that screen into 3 parts. So then for this one you see that program. So that is a dark type HTML is optional, and HTML. So within the HTML you need not to write the body part. Suppose while you are writing that frame set, don't write the body part. Why? Because so the frame set is divided into subparts. So that is, so that's why. So you need not to use the body part. HTML, if you want you can write the other. HTML frame set. So are you following this? Is it visible, Amma?
Yes, sir.
Now you see that here is the HTML and here is the frame set rows. ROWS. Rows is equal to, so 25%, 50% and 25%. That means entire screen is divided into 3 categories. So the first part is a 25% of pixels from entire screen, and next to 50 means, so middle one is having the 50% and last one is 25%. But when you see that frame set 3, so in that cases, so that means how many frames are there? Horizontal frames, 3 frames. Just only we are using 3 frames. So in the first frame, source SRC is equal to OTP.html. OTP.html. Suppose I have written that program, how to generate the OTP for anything. Suppose when you go to the bank, also suppose your cell phone, when you done the initiate the payment, you are getting some OTP. So different times we are getting the OTP is different. But how we can write the program to generate the OTP? So that program, the last year I wrote that program. Just I added that program to this. So frame source opt.html. That is the OPT program will be stored in the first part of the screen. So second one is frame src is equal to within the codes abc.html, because these programs are already in the directory abc.html. abc.html means so already that program, that is for properties of text, already I wrote, right? So frame source list.html. So then Frameset. So when you write this program, so automatically you can display the Frameset like this. So I have understood that.
Yes, sir.
So this is the thing. Suppose when you see that, okay, now this is the output of this Frameset. So for example, you see that how this will be executing. Now you see that in the HTML. So already taken, that is the Frameset. So here this is the program. So whatever I copied there, the same program is there. And here is when you are using that. Suppose it is the same program. So when you execute this program, sorry, vertical. Here is taken that this is the vertical. And for example, so here is the Frameset is the columns. So here is taken. So Frameset is column. Frameset is the columns. Right? The columns are. Suppose in this case, when you are using that Frameset, so now you got this one, right? Vertical. This is the first part, second part, and third part. So for example, in that case, or same thing, if you want to make it as a rows, ROWS, rows. But when you use this as a rows, now you see that 3 rows in the screen. No, 1, 2, 3, 3 rows, right? So 3 rows, and here is when you are using the rows is this one. Or suppose border is equal to 1. I am keeping, that is the border is equal to 1. So when you are using this, so automatically, so that is the border. There is no border of this. You see that, kada? Ippudu ikkada unnedi border lekunda poyindi. So suppose here is keep this as a 2. ఒకదానికి ఒకటి మధ్యలో వచ్చేసేసి then we can use the border. So set border is there. No, suppose when you see that here is, so then is we are using that scrolling a frame border we are giving. So that is a border color or frame. Frame border is equal to 1. అంటే అక్కడ మనకు frame కు border ఉండాలా లేదా అనుకున్నప్పుడు then here is we can use this one. Now you can see the border of this. Suppose here is in that border, suppose if you want to give the color also. So suppose here is, so frame border color is equal to, I can keep red. Border color is red. Now you see that red వచ్చిందా border color. Hello. సో విత్ ఇన్ ద స్క్రోల్ ఇక్కడ చూడండి, ఇది పెద్దగా ఉంది కాబట్టి విత్ ఇన్ దిస్ అంటే ఈ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ మనం క్లిక్ చేస్తే ఓన్లీ ఈ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ మాత్రమే మూవ్ అవుతుంది. సో నెక్స్ట్ పైకి పోతే కిందికి వచ్చినప్పుడు ఏంటంటే there is another thing is there. So this is the frame set, but ఈ లిస్ట్ మాత్రమే మూవ్ అవుతుంది ఈ ఫ్రేమ్ లో. సో ఈ ఫ్రేమ్ లో ఈ లిస్ట్ మాత్రమే మూవ్ అవుతుంది. సో ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసి ఓన్లీ 1 ఉంది కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ మనకేమి మూవ్ అవ్వట్లేదు. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద అవుట్పుట్. But in the previous class already I have shown this list. For example, in the first case, so here is instead of that, here is I have taken that. So 4 frame sets. Or again, if I want to divide that into, so that is the 10% is 1, right? And another one is, so suppose 15%. So I am taking a 15%. So 10%, 15%, but I kept only 3 frames. Then you see that what will happen like this. So now when you see that, చూడండి ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే ఓన్లీ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ ఇక్కడ ఒకటి వచ్చింది. ఈ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ 15% వచ్చింది. ఫస్ట్ వచ్చేసి 10% సైజ్ తగ్గింది. ఇది సైజ్ తగ్గింది. ఇక్కడ వచ్చింది లాస్ట్ లో వచ్చేసేపటికి. సో దెర్ ఈస్ అనదర్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్, బట్ వీ డిడ్ నాట్ అప్లోడ్ ఎనీ వాల్యూస్ ఇన్ దట్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్. So that is the frame set we are applying in this case. For example, instead of this OTP, suppose instead of that program, so here is I want to upload the image. I want to upload the image. So that image is suppose ABC, or what is the name of that image? You see that. And here is we can see the images rcnr.jpg, and here is I can write cnr.jpg. Now you see that. So ఇక్కడ cnr.jpg అనేది ఇక్కడ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ లో I have been removed the things. So suppose ఇక్కడ చూద్దాం అది. So images, jpg cnr2 or like this. So not jpg, cnr jpg, it is a image. అంటే మన అక్కడ యోగి వేమన లోగో చూపించినట్టు ఇక్కడ కూడా జస్ట్ ఓన్లీ వీ కెన్ సీ ద వాల్యూస్ ఆఫ్ దిస్. నౌ వెన్ యూ రీలోడ్ ఇట్, యూ కెన్ సీ దట్ మై ఫోటోగ్రాఫ్ ఇస్ దేర్ అండ్ a photograph has come like this. ఆర్ సేమ్ చిన్న ఫోటోగ్రాఫ్ పెట్టాలనుకోండి, cnr1 డాట్, చూడండి ఇక్కడ చిన్న ఫోటో వచ్చేసింది. అంటే ఈ పార్ట్ మాత్రం వస్తుంది. సో ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ to divide that into rows and columns and rows, then we can use this program. Our second one is, you see that, so columns. So then here is we are using the same program into columns. So this program is consist of columns as well as rows. For example, so the same thing, so we can divide that program into number of columns and number of rows. For example, so in this case, so I have understood, Amma? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
Frame
Yes,
set
sir.
వచ్చేపాటికి, so but here is we are dividing the frame set. Color is 30, columns are 30% and 70%. A border color is blue, so the no resize. So that is the frame set. Again, that is the same thing will be divided into another frame set. అంటే ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసి ఫస్ట్ పైన వచ్చేసి ఫస్ట్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ ఉంది. ఎంటైర్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ విల్ బి స్క్రీన్. యూ సీ దట్ ద స్క్రీన్ ఎంటైర్ స్క్రీన్. సో now you can see that. So you clearly observe this, and here is this is the main frame set. You see that this is the main frame set. That means entire frame set is divided into 30% and 40%, and here is, so this contains the 2 frame sets. Within అంటే ఈ 30% ని మళ్ళీ నేను ఏం చేశానంటే రోజ్ గా 100% and 200 పిక్చర్స్. బార్డర్ is equal to red. So within the అంటే వర్టికల్ దాన్ని again I divided into 2 rows, and first row వచ్చేసేసి cnr.jpg స్టోర్ చేశాను. సెకండ్ రో వచ్చేసి list.html ఇచ్చేసాను. So next one is the third one is, so the third one is when you are using that, సో సెకండ్ వచ్చేసి ఇక్కడ ఇచ్చేసాను. నెక్స్ట్ వచ్చేసి ఫ్రేమ్ 100% బార్డర్ ఇస్ ఈక్వల్ టు రెడ్ అండ్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ ఇస్ దిస్ వన్. సో ఎంటైర్ స్క్రీన్ వచ్చేపాటికి చూడండి, అంటే దిస్ ఈస్ ద 30%. ఫస్ట్ కాలమ్ is 30% and remaining column is 70%. But again, so this is divided into two rows. Just you see that this is the first row and second row. So first row and second row, you see that red color. So that is the rows are red color. Two rows are divided and next two columns. So then we can divide that and we can store the 4. So how many parts are there in the screen? Hello?
4, sir.
4 parts. అంటే ఫస్ట్ మనం ఏం చేసాము, స్క్రీన్ వచ్చేసి 2 కాలమ్స్ గా డివైడ్ చేసాము. సో ఫస్ట్ కాలమ్ ఎంత, ఫస్ట్ స్క్రీన్ సైజ్ ఇస్ 30% and remaining screen size is 70%. సో మళ్ళీ ఈ పైన 30% దాన్ని సో ఏం చేసాము, అగైన్ వి డివైడెడ్ ఇంటూ 2 rows. సో 2 rows చేసినప్పుడు ఫస్ట్ రో ఇస్ 30%, సెకండ్ రో ద సెకండ్. బట్ హియర్ ఇస్, so in this case, but when you are dividing that screen into 4 parts, how many HTML pages or how many images I have to copy? How many frames పెట్టాలి మనం ఇక్కడ? 4 frames. అర్థమైందా? హలో?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
4
sir.
frames ని మనం అప్లోడ్ చేస్తాం. Now you see this program and here is you see this program. So ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ కి వచ్చేపాటికి same thing, a frame set example. So frame set columns 30%, 70%, border color is a blue, no resize. So that is the no resize is resize. And frame set rows. So suppose 2020 border color is red. So అంటే ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసి ఇంటర్నల్ గా మళ్ళీ మనం దాన్ని 2 rows 2 columns కింద చేసాం. ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ ఫస్ట్ cnr.jpg and frame set second frame set list.jpg. ఇక్కడ వచ్చినప్పుడు విత్ ఇన్ ద రోస్ లో, సో దట్ మీన్స్ అంటే ఫస్ట్ 30 తీసుకుంటాం కదా, ఆ 30కి డివైడ్ చేయాలన్నప్పుడు దెన్ వీ కెన్ రైట్ దిస్ ఇస్ ద 1 frame set. And second in the 70 we can use again this one 100%, 100 and 200 means that is just it will take the percentages of this one. And here is the frame set of this pixels. 100% పెడితే స్క్రీన్ సైజ్ పర్సెంటేజ్ తీసుకుంటుంది. 100 అంటే 100 200 అంటే పిక్సెల్స్ ను 100 200 కింద తీసుకుంటుంది. Either you can use the percentage or you need not use percentage. Our frame name is equal to third frame. So source is equal to cnr.html. So then the document contains frame. Browser does not support like this. So this is the second part of the program like this. Suppose when you see this program and here is the frame set is 2, I have taken frame set. Now so that is the same frame set and that is the frame set 1. Then you say that as the frame set 1. So the same thing. So here is this is the HTML, this is the head, and there is no body. So that is you need not to, while you are dividing that screen by using the frame set, so you need not to use a body tag. But here is you see that a frame set color. Frame set color is this is the main, and this is closed at the end. This is closed at the end of this one. So suppose in tarvata ikkada last line chestam. So in between that, so that is written 2 frame sets. Again that is the 30 part is divided into 2 rows, right? And so border color is red and the remaining 70% is closed into 2 rows. So that is the border color is red. So కాబట్టి మీరు ఇక్కడ ఇది చూసేసినప్పుడు while you are executing this program రెడ్ కలర్ లో వచ్చింది, బ్లూ కలర్ లో వచ్చింది. సో నౌ యూ టెస్ట్ ది డిఫరెంట్ కలర్స్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ వన్. సో ఇప్పుడు వచ్చినప్పుడు ఇక్కడ ఇచ్చాము బార్డర్ కలర్ ఇస్ రెడ్. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద సపోజ్ ద సేమ్ వాల్యూస్ వీ కెన్ సీ దట్. సో సేమ్ వాల్యూస్ వీ కెన్ సీ దట్. సో బార్డర్ కలర్ ఆర్ సపోజ్ బార్డర్ కలర్ we are giving and next one is we can see that. So margin width, margin height. Suppose when you are using that margin height, in the same way I will write like this: margin width. Margin width is equal to, or suppose here is a 10 I am giving, right? So for the first one, when I am giving margin weight, so ikkada margin width వచ్చేసి పెరుగుతూ వస్తుంది. Or suppose here is a 30. ఇక్కడ గ్యాప్ horizontal space, margin height can you give? Suppose here is the margin height. ఈ మార్జిన్ సైజ్ మనం పెంచడం కానీ తగ్గించడం కానీ మనం ఇక్కడ చేయొచ్చు, హైట్ గ్లూ ఆర్ సంథింగ్ లైక్ దిస్. సో కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసేపటికి సో దెన్ హియర్ ఇస్ వీ కెన్ యూజ్ ది సో మార్జిన్ సైజ్, మార్జిన్ హైట్, మార్జిన్ విడ్త్ ఆర్ ఎనీథింగ్ లైక్ దిస్, రైట్? సో ఇన్ బిట్వీన్ దట్ వీ కెన్ యూజ్ ద మార్జిన్స్ ఆర్ దిస్ వన్. సో విత్ ద హెల్ప్ ఆఫ్ దిస్, so that is we can create anything. So here is whenever are using that, so for example while you are going to design any web page, or suppose whenever you are going to design any web page, so the first thing is you have to see that so how many screens, suppose how many screens you want to create. సో దాన్ని బట్టే చేసేసి మనము ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ను, సో ఫస్ట్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ వచ్చిందంటే ఆ ఫస్ట్లో వచ్చేసి వెన్ యూ ఆర్ యూజింగ్ ద నెస్టెడ్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్, ద ఫస్ట్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ విల్ బి సో ది వన్ వాల్యూ, సెకండ్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ వచ్చేప్పటికి అనదర్ వాల్యూ వచ్చేసేసి మనం అక్కడ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్, సెకండ్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ మనం చూస్తాం, రైట్? యూ గో త్రూ దట్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్, రైట్? హ్యావ్ అండర్స్టూడ్ దట్? ఏమా?
yes sir.
సో ఇక్కడ ఒక ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ డిజైన్ చేసేసిన తర్వాత వెబ్సైట్ మన స్క్రీన్ ఎలా ఉండాలి, ఎన్ని ఫ్రేమ్స్గా ఉండాలి, ఎన్ని ప్రాంప్ట్స్గా అనేది, సపోజ్ ఇక్కడ మనము ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ వెన్ యూ సీ దట్ వేగవేమన యూనివర్సిటీ, సో ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం వచ్చేసేసి ఇట్లా ఒక రో ఇట్ వచ్చేసి చిన్నగా, సపోజ్ ఓన్లీ ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు కీప్ దిస్ లోగో ఓన్లీ ఇన్ ద ఫస్ట్ ఫ్రేమ్ ఈజ్ డివైడెడ్ ఇంటూ 2 parts, నాట్ ఇన్ ద సెకండ్ ఫ్రేమ్. సో ఈ ఫస్ట్ ఫ్రేమ్లో మాత్రమే నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ రోస్ అండ్ కాలమ్స్ను మనము మెన్షన్ చేస్తాం. సో ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసేసింది అనుకోండి, సో కాలమ్స్ 30%, ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసి రోజ్ వచ్చేసేసి నిచ్చాం కదా, అగైన్ రోజ్ బదులు మనం ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసేసి ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సో ఇక్కడ 10% అండ్ ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసేసి సపోజ్ ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసేసి 90% ఇస్తాం. సో 90% 10% అన్నప్పుడు ఏంటంటే సో ఫస్ట్ లోగో పార్ట్ ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ రోస్, or we can use the columns. Instead of rows we can use it as a columns. So ఇప్పుడు ఈ కాలమ్స్ మనం యూజ్ చేస్తే చూడండి ఈ లాస్ట్కి ఇక్కడ చిన్నగా వచ్చిందా, ఇది 10% వచ్చింది విత్ ఇన్ దిస్ 90%. But దీన్ని కూడా again when you want to divide that into number of subparts, so again we can use like this. ఈ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ లోనే ఇంకొక ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ యూజ్ చేస్తాం. సపోజ్ వాట్ ఎవర్ ఆర్ యూజింగ్ దిస్ ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్, again we can use another frame set, and within that frame set, so we can divide that into number of rows and columns కింద బార్డర్ స్టైల్ వచ్చేసి yes. Suppose ikkada kuda suppose 10% ఇచ్చామనుకోండి. So suppose here is a 10%, and here is suppose you have taken 90%. 10% and border is divided into 90%. So ఇది ఏంటంటే మీకు ఎంత కావాలి అంటే అంత సెట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఇక్కడ చూడండి పైకి పోయిందా, సో పైన వచ్చేసి ఇది పెద్దగా వచ్చింది, ఇది చిన్నగా వచ్చేసింది. ఒకవేళ దీన్ని again we are dividing that into number of subparts means again we can divide that into so some subparts. Within that here is the frame set we are using, right? So మళ్ళీ ఇక్కడ ఇంటర్నల్ ఇంకొక ఫ్రేమ్ సెట్ రాసేసేసుకొని ఆ ఫ్రేమ్స్ ను మనం ఇక్కడ again we can call this frame set as this one. రోస్ ను కాలమ్స్ రోస్ కింద డివైడ్ చేసేసుకోవచ్చు. So that is the thing. So this is called a frame set of this one. Say second one is the frame set, and the next one is we are taking that another frame set. So this is the frame set, right? So now you understood that, right? So up to now, so I studied that. I think one more thing I forgotten, that is the mark you. అంటే మీకు ఇక్కడ మన దాంట్లో స్క్రీన్లో వచ్చేసేసి ఇక్కడ చూడండి ఇలా మూవ్ అవుతూ వస్తుంది కదా. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద టెక్స్ట్ ఈజ్ మూవింగ్. ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు క్రియేట్ దట్ టెక్స్ట్ మూవ్